Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I really wanted to share with you all of my pregnancy must-haves. I have compiled a list throughout the journey of my pregnancy in each separate trimester of what I found really helpful throughout that period. And right now I am 32 weeks pregnant, so I'm in the third trimester. I've come a really long ways and a lot has changed throughout that time frame. So I just want to share with you guys everything again that I feel like has been super helpful throughout each stage. So I'm going to try to keep each one separate. What's the most important, or what I found the most helpful in the first trimester, what I found the most helpful in the second trimester, and in the beginning of the third. So I will also be in a later video sharing with you guys some third trimester must-haves, just because I'm not all the way through it and I don't have some of the things that I'm about to start using. But it is a protocol that my midwives just gave me for trying to hold off strep B. Now, if you're like me and you absolutely hate needles, and if you've watched my videos on doing the gestational diabetes test, you'll know just how much I hate needles. I'll link that above if you haven't seen it yet. But if you are someone who absolutely hates needles and do not want to have a needle in your arm throughout the duration of your labor, then I will definitely be sharing those tips with you and the protocol that I am doing that was recommended by my midwives. So stay tuned for that video and let's get into it. So the very first thing that I started doing when I first found out that I was pregnant was I started taking prenatals. And I was taking this prenatal before getting pregnant because it had this specific B6, this specific type of B6 that was recommended, that it was by Dr. Berg, and he had talked about how sometimes if you're having experiencing a lot of depression, sometimes it could be due to the type of B6, and this specific B6 will help with that. So this is by this is by Mega Food, and it's Baby and Me Too. It's a prenatal multi for mom and developing baby. Taking prenatals is super important when you're pregnant and making sure that you have the right type of supplement. So this one I believe is organic. It's non-GMO. But I have really liked taking these. I also kind of like the flavor of them, which is kind of funny. So they look like this. And what I like about them is that they're actually pretty soft. A lot of those white ones, the white supplements that look similar to this, I like to call them horse pills because they're kind of sharp around the edges. These are not sharp around the edges at all. They go down really smooth. So I have really loved these throughout my pregnancy. That is a staple that has stayed in my pregnancy throughout the entire journey. And I take those twice a day. So in the morning with food and in the evening with food. Now, in the beginning of my pregnancy, I was still waiting until I was hungry in the morning. So I would wait a while longer until I would have those. But as pregnancy has progressed, I have started getting hungrier earlier, and so that has been a really huge staple in my morning and evening routines. The second thing that I started noticing through pregnancy is that I started breaking out, and the breakouts would last. Now I'm meaning like a week. Like I would break out and it would last for a week and it just would not go away. And even after popping it and getting like all the stuff out of it, it would stick around for so long. And so I have continued using a cure. I think around that time is when I switched to using the Seriously Soothing Cleansing Cream. And I also added into my ritual using the Mattifying Moisture, which I have super oily skin, so that helps with that. And that I'm only using in the morning. I continued using the Radically Rejuvenating Night Cream that I have been using. But I got a lot more religious about making sure that As soon as the night began, I was taking my makeup off and I started washing my face, I think 3 times a day instead of just 2 times a day when I felt okay enough to do it. Now, as time went on, I think it was about 6 weeks into my pregnancy that I started feeling nauseous, and I didn't really know what to do about it. And when I went and found out that I was actually still pregnant, if you haven't heard about that video, I'll link it above also. When I found out that I was still pregnant, part of the reason that I found out was because I was actually so nauseous and having such extreme headaches that began to become migraines that led me to believe that I may actually still be pregnant. So a doctor recommended that I start taking a B6 vitamin, and if you know me, you love that my favorite thing is to find natural remedies, and supplements are a great way to do that. So I've actually switched them into being in this jar. I picked it up at my local health food store. They're these little teeny tiny pills, and I take them when I was really nauseous. I would take them 3 times a day, and I actually noticed a really huge difference in how I felt if I was taking them religiously versus if I kind of cut back on them. So I remember I was like, I wonder if this is really working. And I kind of stopped taking them, and I realized, wow, I feel so much better when I take them versus when I don't. I won't say that on every day it completely made all nauseous feelings go away, but it did definitely help. Like, I never ever ended up getting sick. I just didn't feel great. Now, on that note, before I move on to the second, be kind to yourself in this stage. If you are obsessed with health, be kind to yourself. I found it so difficult to stick to being carnivore, and almost nothing sounded good at this stage of pregnancy except for very soul food type foods, like things that I would have as a kid, things that I haven't had in years and years and years started sounding really good. And I felt like I just kind of had to go with it at this point. I felt defeated almost because I had worked so hard to get myself to a healthy place before getting pregnant that it was hard to revert back to feeling like I was stepping into bad habits, but more on that later. So, like I mentioned, with the nausea also came some really severe headaches that oftentimes turned into migraines. And the recommendation that I had from, thankfully, my sister, who was pregnant before me, was to take magnesium. I have this like hair that just wants to be directly at my face and it's driving me crazy. Sorry, guys. Okay. So when I saw the midwives for the second time after finding out that I was still pregnant, they recommended specifically magnesium citrate. So this is the brand that I take. It's a nervous system support is what it says, and it's by the brand Now. So with this one, I take 2 supplements in the morning and 2 supplements in the evening. Now, if you realize that it's not going away and you're still experiencing them, it does take a while for this to build up in your system. And once it does, it can be very helpful, but you may want to step up your dosage for a little while. I believe what my midwife said was that the worst it can do is cause diarrhea, which I never experienced taking this, but I would just look it up and confirm with your doctor that this is something that you can do. And then to go along with that, I also started I started using this peppermint pure essential oil, which is for topical use. Again, I picked this up at my local Whole Foods store, or my natural, my local natural holistic store. Anyways, so this you rub on your temples, and you can also rub it on like the back of your neck to try to help ease that discomfort. And something about it will help with headaches. I had one the other day and I used some of this and it helped. The last thing that was super important to me during the first trimester was using some body oil on my belly. The battery's gonna die. Sorry about that. When I first started recording, it said that I had a full battery, and then it just changed. So what I was going to say is the last thing that I found really important in incorporating in my evening routine was using a body butter or a body oil. So this one is from Sarah's Day. It's called Butter Me Up. It was the only one that I had at the time, and this did sort of shift as my pregnancy progressed. Not because I don't enjoy this. I really love the smell. I actually went through 1.5 of these. There's still just like a little tiny bit left in there. The smell is really good. It is just like a little bit on the oily side, and it stays oily for a while, which is sort of difficult, like getting all over everything, unless you're gonna sit and wait and you have like the time to sit and wait for it to really absorb into your skin. It does leave your skin so moisturized for like days. Like if I shave my legs and I put it on my legs, my legs are like a baby's bottom. They're so soft, and the moisture really like holds into your skin. I believe this also has vitamin E in it, if I'm not mistaken. I don't totally remember. It does have vitamin E oil and vitamin C. It's super organic. I mean, all of the ingredients on it, like it has such a short ingredient list. She's also made some that are very specific to being pregnant, and you get it through Libing Body. So this is really good. It was a huge staple in the beginning of my pregnancy. And let's get into the second trimester. As the first trimester sort of wound down and it started transforming into the second trimester, I started noticing that my skin went from having really heavy, massive breakouts to being really sensitive. So again, I continued using this Seriously Soothing Cleansing Cream. I toned down the amount that I was washing my face to just being 2 times a day. And I really just, I just kept using this brand. I mean, it's just so good. And I didn't try adding any new products into the line because of how sensitive my skin had become. There were some points where I felt like I needed a little bit more moisture when it still wasn't spring or like very warm around here. And so sometimes I was using rosehip oil on my face, which is kind of like a pH balancer. And that really helped add in that extra moisture without making me too overly oily. Now, as I mentioned with the Sarah's Day body oil, I felt like it was just a little bit too oily and took a little bit too long. And at this point, I still wasn't feeling like super myself. And so I ended up trying the Honest Beauty Rock the Bump body butter. And I really enjoyed this one just because it is a little bit more like a lotion. It is pretty thick. So let me show you. I usually use the back of my fingernail to take it out. And it is a really thick consistency. Takes a while to rub in. And it almost has like a, I don't know what you would even call that. It's nice to go on the quick, like if you just need something really fast, it's really easy. It isn't super glidey on the skin, but it was working for those, like, I just climbed into bed, I just want to go to bed, I just, like, I don't want to sit up for a long time with my tummy out waiting for it to dry. So this was a big time saver. And the other thing that I started noticing was I was getting a lot thirstier toward the end of the first trimester. And so adding in, I really recommend getting a large water bottle or having some large mason jars. So we already had some big ones and I just kind of took them over and was like, these aren't going to be used for anything else. These are my water bottles. That's just the way that it's going to be. So I really like drinking it with a straw. I feel like it makes me drink water faster. And you definitely want to be drinking more water as you begin getting pregnant. Baby is soaking up all of the nutrients and the moisture that they need. And so you really need to supplement yourself with water because it shows in your skin if you don't. Like, my wrinkle lines definitely show more when I haven't been drinking enough water. It's a very obvious when you don't. Speaking of hydrating, I actually talked to my midwives in the second trimester and they said that it was okay to add back in electrolyte powder. So the reason that I wasn't quite sure was because the sugar substitute that they use, let me find it, stevia, I had read in a carnivore book that it's not great for pregnant women, and the midwives told me that it was okay to start having. So we just recently found this one. It has very, very quickly become my favorite. It is the lemonade refreshment drink. I think that we were having the same brand in a different flavor, and it's okay, but this flavor, it is so tasty. And if you add a little bit of apple cider vinegar into it, it makes it like a whole nother flavor. Speaking of the second trimester, I definitely got my energy back during that time, and I was starting to feel a lot better. So midway through, or I guess kind of toward the beginning of the second trimester, I stopped having as much magnesium citrate and I stopped having B6 altogether. I just felt like I didn't need it anymore. And when I didn't have it, I didn't feel nauseous at all. So my energy was back. I was feeling really good, which meant that I could start eating better. And with eating better meant that I had more of an appetite, or with feeling better meant that I had more of an appetite. And we actually found these in my second trimester. They are fatty jalapeno sticks. They also have other flavors if jalapeno is not your favorite flavor, but they're really thick. So the point of this is you should have healthy snacks on hand because you're going to get hungry probably. And I noticed that hangriness was much more prevalent at this point, which meant I really needed to eat when I was hungry and have things on hand to eat when I was hungry. If for some reason we were in a rush and we were still kind of getting used to the fact that my diet was changing a little bit, I wasn't fasting as much. Anyways, these sticks are super big around. I don't know if you can tell. They are really big around, and they only have 1 gram of sugar in them. And they're grass-fed. They have pork raised without antibiotics, grass-fed beef. Just super love the flavor of these. The thickness, I mean, they're pretty filling. Like if you're out and you need something, they're a really, really incredible option. Now, another thing that I noticed happening was that if I sat for too long, my feet would get really swollen, my ankles would get swollen, and that was really tough to see. So I ended up reading that having daily movement was a really great option to help change your feet from swelling, just getting that like movement in. If you're sitting for a long time, make sure you're standing up every so often. And I actually noticed this created a really big change. So as long as the days that I was working for my sister, I was like standing up every hour and making sure that I was like working from the desk, standing up and kind of like walking around, moving around. That actually really, really helped. I stopped coming home with my feet and my ankles being swollen. If I did a workout in the morning, that also really helped. So I think just including daily movement in your everyday kind of practice, especially once it gets into the second trimester, is really, really helpful in reducing that swelling. Comfortable shoes are also super, super necessary. I found that wearing shoes that were uncomfortable, just like I wanted out of them so freaking fast. And my feet just really couldn't handle it a lot faster than I kind of thought that it would be. So I immediately started wearing, like, pairing tennis shoes with dresses and like figuring out ways to wear options that were much more comfortable and try to make them stylish. One thing that I was extremely surprised by was how uncomfortable my body got and how early it got. So I don't remember if I bought this at the end of the first trimester or if I bought it at the second trimester, but I know that somewhere in the second trimester, you're not supposed to sleep on your back anymore. And my hips were in so much pain. So I ended up buying this Gigantor. You can like see it. It's like taking over my entire couch. I bought this gigantic pregnancy pillow. I'll have to show you a different angle of it. I found it on Amazon, but when I tell you it's a game changer, because it has one side that goes in between your legs and the other side is along your back, it is so helpful in staying on your side. Now, if you don't know already, you have this like really large vein on like toward the back. If you don't already know, you have this huge vein on your back that you're not supposed to sleep on during pregnancy because it can cut off blood flow to the baby. And I have been really terrified of this since having 2 miscarriages, that this could be something that I could cause issues for my baby and in carrying full term. So when I saw this pillow, I thought, oh gosh, that looks so comfortable. And also this meant with it having that smaller piece on the backside that I wouldn't be as likely to roll over and lay on my back. So this has been amazing in keeping my legs separated when I'm sleeping because, again, it goes in between your legs. And even when I roll over on the other side, I just put that middle piece in between my legs for the longer section and snuggle up on the other side. And no matter which side I'm laying on, it's protecting my back and making sure that I'm not in the wrong position while I sleep. All right, the last one might be a little bit of a TMI, but it was a real situation, okay? Just saying. Your breasts get extremely sensitive, and specifically your nipples get like very, very sensitive. And a lot of my bras were not really made for being incredibly comfortable during the pregnancy stage. Like a lot of them were lace. And it would get to the point where I would just want to rip my bra off while I was out in public. Like it was just so aggravating and so frustrating. And my breasts were also growing, so I felt like it was kind of a convenient time to go ahead and switch bras. So what I recommend doing is making sure you get a fully lined bra that is comfortable. It can be laced on the outside, but on the inside, you want it to just be one straight, comfortable piece of fabric that is not going to aggravate you. Let me tell you the difference. I bought 2 bras when I went out to Target just because I was like, oh, well, that's inexpensive. It's the right size. It has the right texture on the inside. they're amazing. It's so comfortable. It's so comfortable to not feel like I want to rip it off. It's worth the investment to get yourself a different bra when you get pregnant. I mean, almost right away too. From like mid second trimester to third trimester, I definitely started noticing that pregnancy brain was hitting me, and I invested in a planner. I have loved these ones from Target. The brand is called Day Designer. And this one specifically is from the Home Edit. I don't know if you've seen that show on Netflix, but I love it. And this one specifically, this like specific type of planner from the Day. I'm trying to see if they have like a specific name for it. I'm not seeing one. So this specific one from the Day Designer, they've had this one before, but what I really appreciate about it is that it has the specific months that are in different colors. And then if it has this section that has like the month outlined on it, which you can put like all the things that you're looking forward to. And then each individual day has its own entire section. And it has like like every 30 minutes, it has a time slot starting from 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. where you can put things that are happening. It also has this huge to-do list, a note section, things that you must do, and everything else, and bonus points if I get this done. So that is so helpful, because if you ask anyone who knows me, they know that I have massive handwriting and I like to take tons of notes. And specifically being pregnant, this has helped me keep track of so much. Pregnancy brain is a real thing. Get ready for it, girl. It is. Let's see what else. Continuing on with the third trimester, my mom ended up getting me this belly butter right before the third trimester. This one definitely does have vitamin E on it. It says on the very front. And I thought to myself, I already have 2 body butters that I'm using, but I could try another one. So I started trying this one, and it is so nice. It's much thinner than the Honest Beauty one, and it goes on so easy. I mean, it's a much lighter consistency, and it rubs in so much faster. So the other one, because it's so thick, it just takes a little bit longer. But this one has been really nice. I've been using it throughout the end of I basically stopped using the Honest Beauty as soon as I got this one and felt how easy it was to rub in. So I kind of keep them in different places now, depending on when I feel like putting some on. So typically I'm putting it on in the middle of the night, and this is the one that I keep by my bedside and use when I'm just using it in the middle of the evening. When I'm taking a shower and I've shaved my legs, I'm using the Sarah's Day one, because then I can like let it sit in and soak into my skin, and I have like extra time. If I happen to not have a lot of extra time and I took a bath and I shaved my legs and I need to kind of like rush, I really like to put something on my skin, especially my stomach after a bath. I just feel like it kind of gets uncomfortable with clothes on. And that's when I go in with this Honest Beauty. So I keep this under my cabinet, and if I'm in a rush, I will use this. But for the most part, I'm using this one at night. So thank you, Mom, for this. It's been beautiful. I also started toward the beginning of the third trimester experiencing some nausea again. So I included the B6 back into my daily supplemental intake. And I also started including more magnesium into my daily routine because I started noticing that headaches were turning into migraines and were getting a lot worse. Gosh, what else? I think that that is everything that has been extremely, extremely helpful throughout this pregnancy. And again, I would really love to share with you guys the protocol that I do for making sure I don't get strep B or trying to ward it off throughout the third trimester. But I hope this video was super helpful for you. If it was, please leave your comments down in the bottom and let me know what you guys try or if there's anything new that you learned. And if you have any helpful tips and you've been pregnant before and you want to leave them down below, that'd be super helpful for the rest of the community. Hope you guys enjoyed this video and hope to see you guys in the next one. Bye!